Tonight's Charter Review Committee to order. I'd like to have the pledge allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to have a roll call.
Danielle?
Here.
Donald?
Here.
Houston. Tyrone Drummer?
Here.
Arnetta Parker? Here. Wayne Cochran?
Here.
Elliot Eisenberg?
Here.
Stanley Jocelyn?
Here.
Shanina Williams? Here. Stephanie Becker? Here.
Good. Before we have a reading and approval of the minutes, I have a document that I'd like to introduce to the charter.
Excuse me,
Yes.
do that after the minutes.
Okay.
That's the first thing.
Okay. Could you read the minutes of previous meetings?
Minutes of the March 18, 2014 Charter Review Commission Committee meeting. The meeting was called to order at 6 o'clock p.m. with the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call. All were present except Stephanie Douglas, who was excused. The minutes of the March 11, 2014 meeting were read. Elliot Eisenberg moved that the minutes be accepted as read and Stanley Jocelyn second. There being no additions or corrections, the minutes were accepted as read. Councilman Frank Lentine of Ward 2 was introduced. He advised that the committee should be careful not to make too many recommended changes, stating if there were too many issues presented, voters may not vote for them all. Discussion, term of office. Councilman Lentine reported that he ran for office from 1978 to 1990 and he won 6 consecutive 2-year terms. He felt that candidates were always running for office. He further expressed his concerns over extending the current mayor's start date from December 1st until January, feeling that the time differential would give people 2 months to be non-productive or disruptive. He also expressed that he felt there is no reason to implement term limits. He understands terms and close votes. He lost by 2 votes, then won by 3 votes with the recount. He stated that if you are doing a good job, the people will let you know by electing or not re-electing you. He likes the 4-year terms and also the staggering of council. Question presented by Donald Houston. When you were council person in the 90s, what communication strategies did you use? And what do you see now as being needed? Reply. 6 months ago, I didn't know what a tablet was, and people are out with computers and videotapes. The information is out before you leave the meeting. It's a new era and time. We just need to make sure that the information is correct. The newsletter is great, and so is email. We also have the bulletin board and phone lines. Question by Elliot Eisenberg. As far as the working relationship with the mayor, are things okay or should they change or remain the same? Reply. Politics are politics and they are dirty. However, if you ask everyone, they would say, everyone wants the best for the city. We have to remember we are here for the people and we have to do what's best for them. What's going on now, you have to give people the opportunity to prove themselves. Nothing needs to be changed. It's a strong council government. One thing is said in the open meetings and another thing behind people's back. It has to stop. We must work together to fix problems. People want what they want and are not always reasonable. Question by Donald Houston. Since you were appointed and not elected, what do you plan to do for the city? What would you do concerning the waste costs being attached to the property tax? Would you see if that's what the community wants? Reply. I will look out for their best interests. I don't owe anyone anything. I will represent everyone to the best of my ability. That is all I can promise. I would have checked to see what the community wants. At some point, you stop being a city. Second guest speaker was introduced, Juanita Lewis, council at large. Reporting she lives in the Bluff and has lived in Richmond Heights for 10 years. She and her husband run Lewis Exterminating Company. She was elected November 2013 and took office December 1st, 2013. Question by Elliot Eisenberg. Do you think it was enough time to come in on December 1st, and what would you change on the charter? Reply. Yes, that's how it works. I have observed some things and I see that they are not aligned with the charter. We have mainly been working on the budget. I think the vacant seat was unfair. The time ran out before the mayor could fill the seat. She had only 45 days. Our charter said the mayor has 45 days to appoint someone. Question by Elliot Eisenberg. Can you tell me what a council at large is? Reply, council at large is representation of the entire city. Question, Donald Houston. Have you read the charter? Reply, yes. Question, Stanley Johnson. Do you agree with the emergency sessions? Reply, yes. However, I haven't had much to do with emergency sessions. We have mainly been working on the budget. Question, Danielle Cadu. You stated some things have not been followed. Like what? Reply, I can't say exactly what at this point. The chair thanked both our guests for attending. The committee then started review of the charter with Article 6, Section 1. Shadina Williams stated that she has concerns over changing the job qualifications, asking what freedom will this give the interviewers. It was reported by Dwayne Cochran that everything is an informational hunt. The more information we have, the better. Danielle Cadu referred to Section 2, Paragraph A. The authority of the mayor. The majority is 5-2 or a majority. The language is mixed throughout the charter. She would like to see this cleaned up. Also, some discussion over the language change requested from the police chief reporting sergeants within this district would not have the opportunity for promotions unless this language is changed. The chair tabled the discussion regarding the Section 3 general duties of the Director of Finance until we interview him in a couple of weeks. Section 4. Stanley Jocelyn raised a question concerning our police chief and fire lieutenant being civil service employees and not at-will employees. Most are at-will employees of the mayor here. They can only be removed from office by civil service projections. Point of clarity was made by Attorney Grant stating that the civil service protection means there is due process. It gives a level of protection to employees. Meeting was open to guests by the chair. Franklin Teen stated that he feels the council at large position should give their phone numbers to the citizens. They have the same power and responsibilities, however, people do not call them with problems. The next meeting, March 25th, 2014, will have invited guest Councilman D. O'Toole and the service director. The meeting was adjourned at 7:06 p.m. Moved by Stanley Johnson and second by Elliot Eisenberg. Respectfully submitted, Shadina H. Williams.
Thank you. Are there any additions or corrections to the minute?
I move that it be accepted as read.
There's a move that the minutes be accepted read, and we have a second. It's been moved and second that the minutes be approved and read. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion accepted. I have a letter that I'm going to pass out to the committee for review and discussion. And I'd like to bring it to the table. Pass one to make sure Todd sees it. Make sure Todd-
You need it? Well, you have it anyway.
You don't have it.
That's not the worst.
This is the Richmond Heights Charter Review Committee. This is concerning General Counsel. And the letter reads, Dear President Roach and council members, the Charter Review Committee has had several meetings and had one request to help us in our deliberation regarding our duties as members of the Charter Review Committee. We are asking you to approve a contract with Attorney David Lynch to serve as our general counsel. Walter Haverfield and Todd Hunt has amply served our city for many, many years. But that is just why we have asked Mr. Lynch to serve as general counsel. We're looking for an attorney who does not have a long history with our government so that we might get a fresh independent perspective, not connected with the many councils and administrations of the past. We view Mr. Hunt as very well versed in municipal matters, but I hope you will honor our desires to go outside of our long-serving law firms for these purposes. Thank you kindly for your attention to this matter, sincerely. This is open for discussions. If you have any comments or questions.
With no discussions, I would make a motion that we approve this and allow the chairman to submit it to the city.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that this letter be approved and respectfully submitted to the city. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll submit this to the secretary for the city council. I think it's Ms. Tranghorn. I'll put this in our mailbox today.
Or you can hand it to her.
She'll be here.
Okay.
Okay. Sure.
I'm sorry.
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
Why Mr. Lynch, where did he come from? I was here today, he introduced himself,
Mhm.
but why? I'm just,
I guess he's very diverse in municipality law. Being an couple of terms mayor in Euclid, and I understand that he's was president of the East Side, like municipalities, writing different charter reviews and looking overseeing charter reviews.
Why is he not here today?
He's not here today because we're asking that he be given the opportunity to sit with us and advise us and to, but today he's not here because he doesn't have a contract with the city, and the city and the council, we did put before the council, but nothing it's not progressing. So today he decided probably that he just wouldn't make a good time to be here.
So he was here, but he's not here now,
He's not here today.
but he was here.
He was here last week, yes.
Well, I've been to all these, I know how many times he's been here.
Yes, but he's not here today. Should we, yes.
I guess the question is that by design?
That he's not here?
Yes.
I think it is by design, because he's not, he can't represent us based on not having a contract with the city, and he would be an independent person, probably just giving his time, volunteer time. So I think this is before the council, and I don't know where it stands as far as the next step. So I know there was supposed to be a vote a week ago, but I don't think that vote went anywhere. I don't know the rest of the details of it.
so,
Yes.
question, how do we proceed in the future if the vote still doesn't go anywhere?
Well, I think the first order of business is to put this before the council and to see exactly how they vote to have him serve as our council, and then we have to get back together to decide how we're going to address this issue.
Even if it got voted down, we still have Mr. Hunt.
Yes, not still, yes, yes,
Still here.
yes. That's absolutely right. Any other questions?
Does Mr. Hunt recognize this is not a slight against?
That's important.
I would hope that he doesn't.
That's fine. I've been around a long time.
Actually gives him a break, he doesn't have to come out so early.
Right, and he could probably attend to more important, business of the city.
So if council don't approve,
Mr. Hunt would still be our legal advisor.
of course, he didn't pick it right.
He works for Walter Headen, yes, he does. We were going to sit down with Mr. Lazar and Mr. O'Toole. I see neither one of them that has arrived at the moment. So I guess we will pick up on the charter review from our last meeting. And I guess the committee can start looking at some details or discussing some of the articles that we left off last week. Did we start at page 17? Minutes.
Did section 4.
I think we were in
18. We start at section 5.
Well, section 4 is the last. See, section 4.
E,
Section 4.
Staff document raised a question concerning the police chief and fire lieutenant about civil service employees. That was section 4. And it looks like that was the last section covered. That's what it looks like.
Okay, so we were at section 4, the Department of Public Safety. I guess we should start at 8. Because that's the section that was in our last minutes.
what page is that?
Oh, that's page 18. Page 18,
I thought we left off at E.
page 18E, the Division of Building, Zoning, and Housing. Let's see what E is discussing. Shall be appointed by the mayor subject to approval of council.
E.
E.
Commissioner's not a department head.
The
Is
commissioner.
that right?
That's correct.
And therefore, he's in the realm of being a secretary. The question now becomes one of, does council have to approve it? That's it. Subject to the approval of council.
And you're saying he's basically a
He's an employee,
employee, and he's not a director,
not a director.
not a director. So that might be something we might want to look at.
It says in the state revised code, just looking at it, it's 73304, appointment of municipal officers in cities. The director of public service, director of public safety, directors of the university, street commissioner, or any officer or member of a board whose appointment is required by Title VII of the revised code shall be appointed not earlier than the second Monday or January, and not later than the first Monday of January and February. But it doesn't talk about who appoints them.
Well, I think the fact that it's an employee, it makes it the mayor. And the question here is whether she needs to have counsel on her back every time she hires somebody. I don't know I don't think that's good.
Got
regardless of who the mayor is.
Right.
There should be an equal distribution of power. Like I said before, the President of the United States gets to pick his or her cabinet and doesn't need to meet the approval of anyone. A mayor should be given the same thing. There are certain positions where maybe it would be wise for the mayor and council to agree on positions, like key positions, such as, and I just read it. What are the key positions again, Mr. Hunt?
In terms of directors,
Yes, the law director,
law director, finance director, director of public service,
Safety.
well, the mayor is safety by charter. And the director of engineering, which is the city engineer. Director of recreation.
and another position that I think the mayor should be free to choose on his or her own is his or her personal assistant. And I don't know what that would be in here. I don't know what that's
Right.
titled in here.
Yeah, I think the charter gives that authority. There is an ordinance, though, that says the council needs to approve the secretary to the mayor. And I've given an opinion a couple of months ago that is in conflict with the charter, so that it's not valid, that ordinance. So I don't really think you need to do anything with that in your charter.
If the ordinance is not valid, then why is the ordinance in existence?
It needs to be repealed.
And that's another area where some of us are getting confused because we have charters to go by and we're finding that some of the ordinances are in conflict with the charters.
The ordinances of Richmond Heights are in conflict with its charter or other charters?
Yes, didn't you, or did you say you came across some of that or never?
There was one clause that appeared to be a contradiction.
I'd hate to see the balance of power be shifted too far one way or the other. I'd like to see, I personally would like to see an even distribution of power, but I do believe that there are certain positions within the city where a mayor should be free to choose who it is they want for those positions without getting the approval of council. Does anybody disagree with me on that?
No, of course not. Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
It's, the charter has precedent over the ordinance, right? The charter,
Takes precedent.
it has precedent over the ordinance.
Ordinances cannot directly conflict with charter provision.
Are the ordinance written in, and is it available?
Oh, sure, we have codified ordinances about that. Certainly, that's within the purview of council to revise or repeal any ordinance that would conflict with the charter. And if substantial charter revisions are made by the voters this fall, then we have to go back and look at those ordinances to make those amendments. So your duty is not to look at the ordinances necessarily, but to make sure you do what you feel the citizens of Richmond Heights feel would be appropriate to be in the charter.
Okay, Ohio statute, here I have a question, I don't mean to change the subject, but the Ohio statute here says a treasurer. Would that be the director of finance? Or is that a different position?
We do not have a treasurer because we are a chartered municipality. And a lot of, depends on the form of government. So our form of government does not have a treasurer, that's the finance director. If
Okay.
there are duties of a treasurer in the
Okay.
revised code, the director of finance would perform those duties.
Okay.
Yes, that should be.
On the same section, one of the languages that I'd like to have a clarification throughout this whole charter, you'll see majority of the vote of council, and then you'll see 5-2. 5-2 is not a majority, so is it 5-2 or is it a majority? If you go into section B, then it'll say that the mayor can appoint by confirmation of the majority of the vote. But then right up under it, the director of engineering and construction can only be removed from the mayor's office with the concurrence of 5 members of council.
And then there are other parts in the charter that state that such a position can be appointed by the mayor, subject to the approval of council, so that's real vague.
I'm looking at the revised code again, and it says the mayor shall be the chief conservator of peace within the city. He may appoint and remove the director of public service, the director of public safety, and the heads of sub-departments of public service and safety, and shall have such other powers to perform such other duties as are conferred and required by law. In any city, the legislative authority thereof may, by a majority vote, merge the office of Director of Public Safety and Director of Public Service.
Yes.
There's bits and pieces of conflict.
Sure, Todd.
Yeah, where it says approval of council, it would require just 4 votes, I would say. Where it says the majority, that means 4. It says 5, and I don't know what the background is for having 5 votes for some of these things. Now, 5 votes are required by state law. For example, to waive the 3 reading rule for legislation. What else? That's the main one where you need to have a supermajority. But generally, it's a majority for what we have. If it says approval, then it requires 4 votes.
How many council
Seven.
members do we have?
Or 7.
7?
Right. And it takes 4 votes to take action. So if there's a vacancy, there's only 6, there's 2 vacancies, there's only 5, it still takes 4 votes.
The way the charter is presently set up requires 5.
Yeah.
Which is more than a majority. So,
For certain things.
you know, that does give the mayor a little advantage.
Not a lot.
Not what? Yeah. We have,
Yes, we have Councilman O'Toole has arrived. So I'd like to ask Mr. O'Toole if you'd like to join us at the table.
Oh.
Section E.
Yes, we'll go back to E. That's table work.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, how you doing, Mr. O'Toole?
Nice to see you guys.
Good.
Take off your glasses. You know, they're trifocals, so I get confused. Thanks for inviting me today, I appreciate it.
Thank you for accepting the invitation and sitting and sitting down. That's what we appreciate.
Super. How would you like to start?
It's, you know, you can start by just giving us a little background on yourself,
Sure,
or
I'd be
your
happy to.
council tenure.
Well, if it's all right, I'll just take it all the way back to 1985. My wife and I moved to Richmond Heights, and at that time we had 2 small children. And we live on Fox Run Trail, and we lived there for going on 28 years now. And both of my children went through Richmond Heights schools from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. And Both have graduated college, and we're very proud of both of them. My daughter is a school teacher in the Richmond Heights school system. She teaches 5th grade and has been there for 8 years. And my son is a policeman in the the crime-ridden city of Fairport Harbor.
I think it's a village, Mr.
Crime-ridden village of Fairport Harbor. And this week he gets to go and pick up his dog. He's going to be the canine officer in the village of Fairport Harbor. So I think it'll be a very good thing for the city, and he's extremely happy about it. We're big dog people, so it's been a good thing for him. In 1991, Mr. Dick St. John, who was at one time our mayor, was the councilman, and he encountered some hearing problems. He kind of lost his hearing, and so he decided that he didn't want to finish out his term, and I was appointed to fill the position the last 6 months of his term. And I had served on the Sewer Assessment Equalization Board, which is a highly coveted position, I'm sure you know. And we basically heard complaints from individuals who were being assessed for the sewers that we were charged with putting in sewers throughout the city by the EPA. And so myself, Roy Schlachter, and I don't remember the third person who was on the board with us, we heard various people's complaints as to why they felt it was unfair. And so that's kind of how I got involved in politics. As I was appointed, I finished out 6 months, and then I ran for office in 1991. And I've been on the council since 1991. And so I've served as the chairman of all the committees in the council. And for the first couple of years, I was not a chairman, so I kind of sat back and learned the ropes, understood what was happening in the council, and was then appointed to the safety committee. And since then, I moved on to all the different committees through council. With regard to, let's see, what else can I say about my tenure on council? I've been re-elected. This will be my 5th term, and it's hard to predict what's going to happen down the road, but at this point, this is probably going to be my last term. So, long story short, there are a few things that I'd like to continue to accomplish here as a council person. So with regard to the Charter Review Commission, it's my opinion that the Charter Review Commission and you people are appointed, and you really have the voice of the people. That's what you guys have to say. What you come up with after your review is your perception of what is right or wrong with the charter. And it's been reviewed every year, every 5 years, at least during my 20 years as a council person. And I don't have anything specific that I wish to direct you down in terms of the Charter Review Commission. And anything that I would say might be kind of biased. And it should be your analysis, your observations as to when you look at the charter and you review it, it really should be your observations and not the council, not the finance director, not the law director, not the mayor. It's the people who have a chance to review it. Certainly you can get opinion from a legal perspective from the law director, but I would hope that you guys would review the charter, from top to bottom, and decide what you think is the issue with the charter. And it's a living, breathing entity. It's been changed a number of times. But I think when the charter was originally put to paper, the people believed that there needed to be a balance between the council and the mayor. No one person should have complete control over the agenda, so to speak. And being that the council has 7 people, and they're each individually elected by the people in the city, their weight in the charter is a little heavier than the mayor's. And I think there's good rationale for there being a balance more in favor of the council versus the mayor, because if you get a mayor who may or may not have an agenda, this is a way to balance things out. If you have a mayor who you don't agree with, and that could happen in any term, if you have a mayor that you don't agree with, you have the council to kind of balance that out, and you have a direct voice with each of your council people. And so, what I've heard in discussions is that there's concern that the balance is out of power, that there's too much control by the council and not enough in terms of the mayor. And not necessarily this mayor, but mayors in general. And so I'm in belief that the balance should be in favor of the balance of the majority, which would be the council. And if, in fact, there isn't cooperation between the council and the mayor, then there has to be cooperation between the mayor and the council. If the mayor wants something, the mayor should consult with council. And if the council wants something, her veto can overrun what the council wants. So, in my opinion, they both have to work together. And without that working together, there's a problem. And that's kind of what we're seeing happen right now here. We're not working together. And at this point, to change the balance to where one person has more power than another, in my opinion, would be detrimental to the city. So I'm in favor of keeping the balance of power where it is right now. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions for us to?
Then how can the mayor move ahead with her agenda or his agenda when there's some conflict with council? Now, the mayor might have a position that might be better for the city, but the council disagrees. So how do we move forward when we have that type of conflict?
Well, there has to be compromise. I mean, if you have one person's opinion and you have 7 people who don't agree with it, that's what the charter has done, is it's created a counterbalancing power. If the mayor has an idea and the council says this is not what we feel should happen, that's the way the charter was set up. The mayor needs to temper their opinion and work with the council and come up with a compromise. And there needs to be compromise between both sides in order for it to happen. And we've had that over the years that I've been on council, and it would be my hope that we can get to that position again.
So in the past with the previous mayor, there was not too much of a conflict, pretty much both sides agreed to whatever was presented?
Well, we didn't always agree, absolutely not. But we worked through the details and we came up with a compromise. And that's what you generally saw was a compromise between what the mayor and the council wanted. If one person has an agenda and the other 7 don't agree with it, then I don't see that being a path or a direction that the city needs to go in, because the elected officials, the council people and the council president, were elected by the people who also have a position, who are listening to the people as well. So there's always going to be the gears grinding together, and so that's the whole process, is we have to be able to come to an agreement where we all, and these are the words of Mr. Russell. He said, in a good negotiation, nobody gets everything. And so there needs to be compromise and discussion back and forth about what's the best thing for the city. And the charter says it's a mayor and council form of government. I hope I answered your question.
But isn't that one and one, the council, even though there's 7 members, is only one council and one mayor, and that puts them all equal?
I don't agree with that. I don't agree that one council, the mayor and the council, what happens if that mayor has a completely off-the-wall agenda? And I'm just saying, there needs to be a council who's 7 different people, 7 different sets of ears talking to different people in the city.
How do you think a person like that could ever get elected? If he's off the wall to begin with, don't you think the public, the citizens, would know that when they elect him?
I'm not sure what that hypothetical means, but
We could look at that reverse too,
what do you mean by that?
your statement. We could look at that reverse.
Can you just elaborate a little bit on that one?
I think she's saying that if the council's the incompetent one, the mayor's the competent one, then you're saying that because numbers of councilmen would overrule the mayor, even though they're incompetent.
Well, it's my opinion that all of the people.
I'm sorry, you said if the mayor were to have an off-the-wall agenda or something to that effect. We could look at that reverse too.
True.
We could look at that where council may have an off-the-wall agenda.
Well, if the council had an off-the-wall agenda and they would continue to be elected by the people, that would indicate to me that it's not necessarily an off-the-wall agenda.
I think I need to interject there and say that if council, who has been elected 3, 4, 5 consecutive elections with no opposition, there was no choice. They were, one vote, they won. So if they had no opposition, you really can't say that they were chosen by the people because they had no opposition.
That's
They
true.
just flowed right
That's
into
true.
the position.
Very good point, very good point. In my particular case, I have not run unopposed. So I believe the only person who's really been, well, the council president has been unopposed. But I think most of the council people have had opposition. But you're right, if there's no opposition, there's no opposing voice. And there should always be an opposing voice. There should always be someone challenging those people, and I'm totally in agreement with that. And in my particular case, I know that I've been challenged, and it's probably made me a better council person by being opposed by different people, and made me question my positions. It made me realize that my positions are solid. But a lot of times, if you aren't challenged, you end up thinking you're all powerful, and you're really not. So I agree. It's a very good point. But I think I think it's a statement about society. There haven't been the people have kind of the average person in the city has checked out of what's going on in their city, and anything we can do to bring more people back into the process, to understand what's going on in their city, I think is a good thing. Yes, sir.
Councilman, I have 2 questions. Under the present charter, with the present council and the present mayor, how do you think they can have some middle ground to make decisions for the citizens of Richmond Heights to move the city forward? The city has been getting a lot of negative press. So how, as a council person, do you drive that wedge to maybe get some kind of neutrality of moving the city forward and, instead of a lot of negative? And how do you get to the positive side?
That is the crux of the question. when you have, the way the charter is set up, the council can introduce legislation, and the mayor can introduce legislation. But most of the work is done in the committees. The first and the third Tuesdays of every month is when the work is done. And by the time you get to the council meeting, the work is already done, and there has been a consensus. So if the council has an idea, they should consult with the mayor. And if the mayor has an idea, the mayor should consult with the council and work it out, as we have always done, in the committees, the finance, planning and zoning, the safety and the service and rec committee. That's where the work gets done. And when you, that's where the word is, I guess, sausage making happens. When I don't agree with what you have to say, I can state my position. If you don't agree with her position, you state your position, and as a result, you end up with some kind of a compromise. And then from there, that's where legislation ends up being put together and drafted. So it has to start with a meeting of the minds. And a perfect example of where we are tonight, we're going to entertain a veto of the mayor on an issue where there was no input from the mayor whatsoever in the budget this year. She attended a few of our meetings, but she gave us no input. She didn't give us any direction. And if we had worked together on it, we might have come to a compromise and maybe not be where we are today. So I guess the answer to your question is we need to start the process across the table just like we are today.
Well, there's nothing wrong. I mean, we live every day where healthy discussion, healthy debate, spirited discussion and debate takes place at every table around the country, in cities smaller or larger. So I think your point's well made.
There's nothing wrong with spirited debate.
No.
I'm all about spirited debate. We should have debate without hate. There's been too much of that. And we should try to have amicable conversation, adult to adult, not adult to child, or if you look at that, there was the book in the 1970s, I'm okay, you're okay. We should be having adult to adult conversations. And that's the only way that I think you're going to get things done. I'm not sure we're on the topic of charter review here, but we're...
Well,
Yeah,
I
it
go
is.
back to charter review.
Yeah, okay.
It actually is.
Right,
It is.
when you look at this, and you know, our kids go to school, so I've been here a minute too.
Mhm.
I look at the mayor's election as the citizens of Richmond Heights voting for change. I mean, that's, we put her in there, we put all the elected people. So the citizens of Richmond Heights voted for change. I don't see how the balance of power, as you stated, or as it exists right now, allows for the change to occur that the people said they wanted.
The charter allows for change not by taking a hacksaw and lopping off the axle of a tire. It has to be adjusted. And that's my understanding of, and maybe that's not a very good analogy, but things don't happen real fast. They have to happen slowly, and that's what I see as in the charter is that if there are things that want to be changed, it doesn't happen like turning on a light switch. It's more of a gradual change, and that's why if one side has an idea and the other side has another idea, it just can't be, okay, now it's your idea or it's your idea. It has to be worked out together, and that's how I see how it working. The election was a victory for our mayor, but it was not a landslide or a victory that was overwhelming. I believe it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 17% of the people in the city voted in favor of the mayor.
No. Victory is a victory.
Can't go back, especially when someone comes in unopposed.
Well, I agree, a victory is a victory.
Okay.
And there were 4 candidates, so you got votes split among 4
I
candidates,
don't-
and
Who had
she
won?
won.
Yeah, but the bottom line is, change is not, it can't be abrupt. I don't think that's what the charter intended. If we need to have more conversation between the council and the administration, and I'm open to conversation with the mayor on issues, and I'm only one of 7 people. So, but you're right. The people did elect the mayor, and I believe you're going to end up seeing change in the city. I believe you will see things be different. It may not be as fast as you might want it to be, and I think that's a good thing, because that's what I see the charter provided for the town.
And just to elaborate, this is basically we're just gathering information, discussion, dialogue. I think the conversation that we're having here is very important towards the charter review and towards trying to move the city, forward. So our job, as you said, to look at this charter, and the reason we ask you these questions is to see how the charter works with the council and how the charter works with the mayor. And as a committee, we're going to sit down and go line by line to just see what needs to stay, if there's any amendments, and if there's no amendments, we keep moving forward.
And I think the people who put the charter together were wise in stating that as time passes, certain parts of the charter may no longer be appropriate, and they provided for the ability to adjust and to change that charter. And the people, you're going to make a recommendation, and then you're going to present that to the people of the city. And then they're going to analyze what you've said. And so it's not an abrupt change. People will realize that you'll have a chance to present your side, and the people will analyze it, and they'll end up voting on it. So it's not glamorous work, but it's important work, and I believe that it is very important work. So.
Councilman, do you support the date of December 1st for takeover by the mayor and council, as far as that's concerned, or January or any other date?
I don't see how it makes that much of a difference. If you have 3 weeks for the mayor to clean up their administration and prepare it to be given to the incoming mayor, as opposed to making it January 1st, or immediately.
That's the other one.
Yeah. If you have good, conscientious people who are in office and they realize that I'm no longer the mayor, but I have the ability to get all the ducks in a row and provide for the smooth passage of power to the new person, I don't see a problem with December 1st. I don't see a problem with January 1st. Immediate might be a little bit uncomfortable. I don't see that being that big of a deal. What was your opinion?
Well, I'm just a member of the committee.
Mhm.
What our opinions are at this particular point. I do have opinions, obviously, everybody does. However, you said something, and it kind of confused me, or maybe I didn't understand it, and I just need clarification.
Sure.
I got the impression that you made the statement that the election of council representatives was actually more important than the election of the mayor. Because public
No,
constituents
Right.
who were, and I don't know if I'm phrasing it properly, I don't know if I heard it right.
Right.
I guess that's what I'm questioning in this particular.
good question. Let me tell you what, if I can clarify. The election of one council person is not more important than the election of the mayor. But I think it's the aggregate election of 7 different council people who have had many more conversations, many more interactions with people. I believe that carries a little more weight than the election of one particular person as mayor.
Again, I say, if you don't have opposition, there is no, there's nothing to compare. And I've been in Richmond Heights for 11 years, and until I was appointed and duly sworn in on this commission, I didn't know what my council person looked like. And she came in here with her little business card. I didn't know what she looked like. 11 years. So I don't think what you're saying is valid. She's unopposed. She's been on council for 20 plus years.
More than 20.
I said 20 plus.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And so
Right.
that, I don't think
Yeah.
there's validity in what you're saying, because she's been unopposed, so people have not had the opportunity to make a choice between her and someone else. So
She actually, going unopposed, could get elected with one vote.
one vote, she's
Her own.
her own.
I-
So
I totally agree. I think there should always be opposition. And why there isn't opposition in Ward 1, I don't understand. I mean, that particular council person has, in my opinion, has served the city. And why has no one come forward and said, I don't agree with what you're doing, I should run for council?
We didn't know who she was, number one.
Well, that's not, here's my opinion on that. In the United States of America, it's not just the responsibility of the council person, it's the responsibility of the individual to find who their council people are. If you didn't know who she was, then hunt her down, and ask her some questions. But I agree, nothing would repulse me more, and it has in the past, where someone comes to my door and says, vote for me, and it's 2 days before the election. No question about it.
My opinion too is that when you take 7 different council people who run for 7 different wards, you only represented a certain amount of people in the city. When you take one person running for the mayor of the city, and they get not the majority, more than the majority vote to the degree, then that person is more recognized by me than the one council person in that one ward, because now you have a lot of people who have shared some conversation or some ideas about the mayor, that they agree that this might be the person we want to run the city.
I hear you. Just as a point of clarification, there are 4 wards. So in each ward, there's 1 ward person. And there are 2 at-large council people. And they represent the entire city as well. And the mayor, and the council president is also elected by the full body of the city of Richmond Heights. So there's kind of a blend there. You have people who are elected at large across all the wards, and the council president, and unopposed, right? And you make a valid point. There should be opposition. The council president's job is a more challenging job than the council person's job, because it's you're running the show basically. So the lady makes a good point, and I agree that there should be some opposition.
I just had one
The
other statement.
at-large council person is a strong position. Do you like that position?
Do I
Do you
like-
like having that position?
Well, are you talking about the position or
Just
yeah?
in lieu of having it. I mean, I was the person that asked,
Right. I am an.
what does it mean? I mean, I didn't have any idea what the council at large was.
Okay, we'll take one more question, and then we'll
No problem.
we're gonna take one more question, and then we'll
there's
I would answer this with, at large, I don't think is any more important than anyone else. They're all important. We just happen to be voted in by all the people, so they're all equal.
Are they necessary?
Pardon me?
Are they necessary? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I think sometimes the lady made, and I don't know your name, I'm sorry.
Stephanie.
Stephanie, thank you for your emails, by the way.
You're welcome.
When you have a ward that is covered by a person who's unopposed, the at-large person is responsible for that ward as well. So you have another chance to be attached to a council person at large in a ward that may or may not have a quote-unquote responsive person in the ward. So the at-large person kind of safeguards against that in my opinion. Thank you.
Well, I don't want to be late. My only thing was that when there's a vacancy in the neighborhood throughout the community, wouldn't you think it's a good idea for the council person or even the council person at large would go and welcome that person and tell them about the city briefly or invite them to council meetings so that they can be aware of who might be part of this community?
I totally agree. Not just council people, but your next door neighbor. I mean, and when we moved in 1985, the city we've all, in my opinion, become more introverted. We're in our houses, we're doing computers, we've got the TV on, we've got the air conditioning on, and we need to figure out a way to get the people out interacting with each other. Council is only one way to do that. We're open to any suggestion you guys might have to, I mean, the family days is a perfect example. We need to find new ways to bring different people and meet new people in the city. And I don't know if it's the responsibility of the council person, but I think it's a great thing to do. And I make it on my street that I live on, when somebody new moves in, I don't even tell people I'm a council person. They don't even know I'm a council. I just go and say hello. So, hope I answered your question.
Good. Councilman Toole, do you have any final comments?
No, I appreciate the hard work that you guys are doing here, and I know there's a lot of words in there, and I'm sure you'll entertain any changes that you guys you decide to present. We'll choose them carefully, and those will be my final words.
Okay. And I want to thank you for your time and your dialogue. We really appreciate your services.
Anybody can call me at any time with any questions. Being your at-large council person, I'm always available.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lazar was supposed to be attending. I think our time is running out. So what I'd ask is that we set the next 3 weeks up with at least, I think, on April the 1st, we have.
April 1st, we have the finance
We have the finance
director. On April 1st, and we agreed that he would be the
Only
attendee for that meeting.
Probably bring Missouri, bring him in that time.
But we were told that the finance director would
probably
need the
have.
whole power.
Yeah. So, if we could move out to the 8th, is that the 8th? That will be the next one, and then move that to the 15th. And if we could invite Mr. Lazar
On 15.
on the 8th, and then let's set up some dates where we can invite the next 3 to 4 council person that we haven't invited. I think that's Ms. Marsha Sarcy Morgan, Councilman Mark Alexander, Councilperson Eloise Henry. Just one of the things I'll ask that, they could bring like a written agenda or a written pass out to us, so we can just review it while we, interview.
The audience, put it on record.
Yes. Would anyone in the audience, feel free to have any comments? Yes,
Yes, not necessarily.
excuse me, could you state your name and your address?
My name is Daisy Driggs. I live on Horizon. I've been living in Richmond Heights for 12 years. When I moved into Richmond Heights, I didn't know any of the people who were running the city. And I was often asked who was the mayor. I made it my business to find out who he was, but I was never able to see him or meet him. And I guess I just kind of felt a little isolated, so I'm very happy to hear what's being discussed. I think that an informed citizenry is better able to get the right people to represent them. And I've been seeking to be informed about what's been going on. I was one of the people who, I'm happy to say that I voted for our mayor, and I'm proud of her. I'm glad to see that change, and I believe we're going to move forward with her. However, just want to say that she needs support, and we know that. And she does have citizens behind her who want to really make sure that the job gets done. We do see, however, that there is some opposition going on, and it's not that we don't know whether there's any intentional agenda or anything like that. But in a positive way, we want to move forward with her, and we intend to continue supporting her.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Charles Perkins. I've been a citizen here for about 12 years. The only thing I have to say, you guys have my prayers, the ladies too, because you have a hard job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else? Thank you.
Okay, nothing else?
No, I think that's, our next meeting will be April 1st, 6 o'clock, right here in the caucus room. If there's no further business, there a motion? There's a motion. It's been moved and seconded that the meeting adjourned. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.